and welcome to the Trailer Island podcast.
Is that an Irish accent?
No, I think
I'm trying to do the accent from the movie, Steve.
I think is it a Canada accent?
Yeah, I think it's Canadian.
Yeah.
Eh?
Sorry,
Guys, I need your support, all right?
Hey, Tony Vallalonga. Hey.
Hey, Lip. Is that what they call him?
Yeah, they call him Tony Lip.
Tony Lip.
Yeah,
There
not
we go.
the lip. Just Tony Lip.
Specifically.
Yeah.
Hey, we're the Trailer Island podcast. We do films versus their trailers. Did the film deliver what the trailer promised? And it's another Wednesday. It's another episode. And I think we're a little bit excited about this one. Would that be fair?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think all three of us are kind of buzzing about this one.
Given that I'm so excited about the accent, for starters.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think this is I'm excited to talk about this one, if I'm honest. I think this is going to be some interesting discussion.
Has its controversies.
I'm excited to say the name Mahershala a lot because I really like that name, Mahershala.
Will that be your first child's name?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good. Glad to know. Yeah, I'm Alex and I'm joined by...
Matthew.
Steve Hershala.
Oh, dearie me. You do the strangest voices. Right. No, I do the strange voices. You do the strange names. That's right, isn't it?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Oh, look, the music's almost done. Yay.
So we've been the
Good
Trailer
night,
Island
good
podcast.
So if you haven't guessed already, we dropped some pretty deep hints as to what we're talking about this week.
Yes, and if you haven't seen the film, they would make no sense to you whatsoever.
That's right. We've talked about Mahershala. We've talked about Brooklyn accents. We're obviously talking about Transformers this week.
Yeah, it's finally happened. It's the week we're doing Transformers 2,
Actually-
The Dark of... No, that's Return of the Fallen, that's the third one, The Dark of the Moon, isn't it?
Well, we're not having this conversation again. Okay. This week, we are talking about Green Book.
Yeah, some guy called over here, a doctor. He's looking for a driver. You interested?
I am not a medical doctor. I'm a musician. I'm about to embark on a concert tour in the Deep South. What other experience do you have?
Public relations.
Do you foresee any issues in working for a black man?
You in the Deep South? There's gonna be problems.
Promise me you're gonna write me a letter.
I promise. Tell me that don't smell good.
I've never had fried chicken in my life.
You people love the fried chicken.
You have a very narrow assessment of me, Tony.
Yeah, right? I'm good.
You will be interacting with some of the wealthiest people in the country. It is my feeling that your diction could use some finessing.
Fana, but why you breaking my balls?
Because you can do better, Mr. Vallalonga.
Dear Dolores.
I saw Dr. Shirley play the piano. He's like a genius, I think.
Come on, take it easy.
I prefer not to get grease on my blanket.
Ooh, I'm gonna get grease on my blanket.
This gentleman says that I'm not permitted to dine here.
I'm afraid not. How does he smile and shake their hands like that?
Because it takes courage to change people's hearts.
What are you doing?
A letter.
May I? Dear Dolores, sometimes you remind me of a house. You know this is pathetic, right? Put this down. The distance between us is breaking my spirit. Falling in love with you
Was the easiest thing I have ever done. P.S. Kiss the kids.
That's like clanging a cowbell at the end of Shostakovich's 7.
That's good.
It's perfect, Tony.
Come on, get out now.
You never win with violence. You only win when you maintain your dignity.
You don't know your own people. You, Mr. Big Shot, doing concerts for rich people.
So if I'm not black enough, and if I'm not white enough, then tell me, Tony, what am I?
Anyone can sound like Beethoven. But your music, what you do, only you can do that.
What do we do about the bones?
We do this.
Pick it up, Tony.
Squirrels would eat it anyway.
Pick it up.
What a terrific trailer.
It's a mix of like comedy and drama and...
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know.
I don't think that that missells the film at all. I think that's pretty spot on what we're expecting there.
I don't think it plays out quite to... It's more drama than it is comedy.
I would disagree because
You reckon?
I actually laughed. I mean, it's in a good way. I'm not laughing at the movie. I'm laughing with it. But I laughed a lot in this film. I thought it was very... I mean, obviously there was some great moments of drama in this, but I thought it was some very funny moments in this as well.
This will be the second time I've seen it. I saw it in theatre. I felt like I got more comedy notes the second time around. But
Right.
I do agree with you. Like the first time watching it, you really focused on the drama, deep themes.
Well, I think that trailer is quite well constructed, and it is, I think, a good template for telling the story of a movie in a trailer. It doesn't give too much away, I don't think.
I would agree. I find that you get a really good taste of what you're going to see in this movie, and it kind of does actually sort of touch on everything, all the different themes in the film. But like we say, you have no idea how it's going to play out, really, from that trailer.
Yeah.
It doesn't give away the ending as such.
Now, this film was a request, because you can send in a request for us to do, and this week it came from my sister, because she was like, you should do this. And her name's Jessie, and she lives in the fine city of Port Augusta, which is located 280 kilometres north of Adelaide, with a population of 14,000 people. It has a lovely beach, a bridge, a salt lake, an arid botanic gardens, a water tower lookout, and plenty of chicken shops. So visit Port Augusta today, where my sister Jessie lives.
Was that an Irish accent?
I don't know, but I really want to go to Port Augusta. That was brilliant.
I just wanted to do a shout out.
Yeah, no, I love that.
great,
That was great. Can we make that a running thing, please? That was brilliant.
Yeah, send us who you are and where you're from.
Yeah, and we'll plug your town.
We'll plug your town.
Yeah. We're doing our bit for tourism.
Exactly.
Now, talking of towns, this film starts in New York. New York.
Oh, that was quite good.
New York.
Yeah, that was good. Yes, perfect.
Was it?
I thought that was good.
Okay.
I don't have the best English accent, so...
I'm going to take the compliment.
Shall we talk about the premise of the movie?
Yes, please do.
Yes, so this film starts, we're introduced to Viggo Mortensen's character, Tony. I forget the character's last name.
Vallelonga.
I'm not even going to attempt that, but yes, what Steve said. And he's sort of a fixer, really. He kind of does all kinds of things, and we established that he's basically had a lot of jobs leading up to when we first see him in this movie, where he's working at a club as a waiter / whatever the house wants him to be. I think is fair to say he sort of sorts out any issues that may occur as well.
He's in public relations.
Exactly, as he's so beautifully illustrated in the trailer. He can sort people out if is required. Look, he's not very well off. He's sort of just making ends meet, hence doing all these different jobs. And a job comes up to basically be a driver for a doctor just down into the south of the States. And he goes, yeah, why not? Doctor, sure, whatever.
His family's a bit strapped for cash. He's got 2 kids.
2 kids.
Linda Cardellini is his wife, who I had an absolute crush on.
Everyone has
Freaks and Geeks.
Scooby-Doo.
But she's in Scooby-Doo?
She's Velma.
Oh, that's... that.
Yeah.
That explains
She's
a lot
Hawkeye's wife, isn't she?
Yeah.
Huh. No wonder I recognised her. Anyway, so he goes, yeah, absolutely, I'll take this job. But then he realises when he goes to meet this doctor that he's not a medical doctor, as again is in the trailer. Again, the trailer is very succinct. He's actually a doctor of music, and he's also a person of colour. And this is set in the 50s, 60s? 60s. So obviously you're going into the south of America. They're not very tolerant of that back then. And that's sort of this is based on a true story as well, which I find pretty incredible that they were brave enough or stupid enough to go and do this. And it's about him. He has his own beliefs challenged somewhat as well, I think, because he's quite traditional in his thinking of the time, perhaps. Yeah. And it's about basically them doing that. It's a road trip movie, really.
It is, yeah.
And I love that. It's about, and they get into some trouble here and there, and it's about them figuring it out, basically. I think that's fair to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I actually found it interesting. Well, the trailer spends a lot of time on the love story between Viggo's character and his wife. And within the movie itself is maybe...
a bookend kind of thing?
It's just bits and pieces throughout the film, which are lovely accents, because I think it's what kind of brings them together a little bit.
Yeah.
It's great that Viggo's character wasn't a womanizer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was passionate about his wife. And he writes his letters. He's like, today I eat a hamburger.
Which I love. I love that. It's so endearing.
And I guess, that's who his character was. And then Ali's character helps him to write more passionate letters.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't. I forget the name of the character.
Donald Shirley.
Donald Shirley. Thank you. Sorry, that's an important piece of information.
Played
Sorry.
by Mahershala Ali.
Oh, see, he's got another one in. And I think it's fair to say this film, at its core, is about the friendship that they form.
Yeah,
It's a friendship movie, really,
Yeah.
and like we say, based on a true story. So I feel like we're kind of okay with spoilers on this one. I don't really want to ruin it because it is.
Well, I found the story perhaps a bit basic in a sense that you could put two different characters with different views in any situation and write some story about how they help change each other's views. But I think in this case, albeit a rather simple premise in that respect, the situation that they're put into is certainly challenging. And I think that's why it was such a popular film, is that it tells that story really well. It's taken a really basic concept, thrown a really difficult twist on it, and I guess treated it with respect.
And
I think this would probably be the new template for a road buddy movie, you know?
Right.
It's one of the better ones I've seen. So when we did Uncle Frank last year, Steve, you brought up Green Book.
Yes.
And so I had that in mind when I watched this, and I thought, yeah, actually, I can see where you're coming from, but I do think this film does a better job of that kind of...
Well, I think it makes it easier for the audience. It's an easier film for the audience. It's
It is
a bit
more
more
accessible.
palatable
Yes.
compared to Uncle Frank, which I think I prefer as a road trip film because it's a bit more challenging in its concept. Or
It's a little uglier.
Yes.
Like some of the things, you know, it doesn't shy away from... there are heavier themes, I think, in that movie than in this one.
Well, they're both actually quite similar films when you think about it.
I would call Uncle Frank more of a family drama than a road movie.
Yeah.
Because it spends probably, you know, a third of that film actually sort of within the midst of a family drama.
Yep.
This one is spent entirely on the road.
Yeah.
This
And
one
I love that. My favourite thing is also how you've got someone so sophisticated in Dr. Shirley, and then you've got Tony, who's also just, I wouldn't say oblivious, but also kind of has this childlike excitement. Like when he gets to Kentucky and gets KFC in Kentucky, it's like the best day ever for him. It's like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And I just love that kind of, he finds such simple joy in that kind of stuff. But then you contrast it to Dr. Shirley's, you know, sophistication, and he loves the finer things, you know, and they kind of play on that. Like, They both take things from each other, you know, that kind of exchange that you get. Yeah.
The bits that I really love, you know how he talks about how he's actually an honest, Tony's an honest man. He doesn't lie.
Yeah.
And so when he wants to do something or he has an opinion about something, he doesn't hide that. And, you know, it's presented, as you say, in sort of this childlike enjoyment of things. And, you know, when he misinterprets what a word might mean, if it's insulting him, he takes it as a compliment. Or, you know, if something's a bit complicated, he's like, you know, what are you saying to me, man? What's going on here? And I thought Viggo just did that so well.
He did.
It's been, 20 years since he did Lord of the Rings?
Yeah.
And he almost seems like a completely different guy.
And I know it sounds a little bit kind of an obvious point to make because Lord of the Rings was obviously such a huge thing, but I hadn't seen him in anything else other than this, other than Lord of the Rings before I saw this. And so for me, I was completely blown away by the fact that I never once thought there's Aragorn. His performance is so captivating, and just he's the different person. It's brilliant.
The accent helps with that.
The accent does help a bit.
It does break that mold a little bit.
It does a bit, but he's very good in this.
Yeah, I mean, and he's obviously put on the kilos for it as well because he really is.
He's a chunky boy.
I'm glad that he justified my fast food addiction throughout this movie. I felt good about that. It's like, I should get KFC as well while I'm watching this.
If you want a palate cleanser, perhaps, from your Aragorn fantasy, have you seen Eastern Promises?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so he plays a gangster in that as well.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll
Quite a violent movie, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Did he do a history of violence as well?
He did, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so watch those two films and
Okay,
that'll sort of help you transition out of this
Sure.
imagination land you're living in.
Now, I am aware. I don't mean to derail this conversation, but I have realised we're halfway through, and we did probably should have done a time tug, shouldn't we? Is it too late to get the captain in?
What year did this come out?
That's 2019, 2018? Or do we think that's not long enough?
2019 it did, yeah.
2019.
Oh, well, let's ask the captain anyway.
Yeah.
Captain, what do you think?
The Academy Awards are rigged.
Okay.
Now, Captain, you touch on a good thing there because thank you for bringing out the time tug. That's great.
Oh,
Who's that guy?
He's an enigma of the island.
Yeah, you should chat to him, Steve, at some point.
There was quite a lot of protest about this film when it won. Like Spike Lee, had a big thing, and I think that. I don't want to get into it too much because I don't think it's our place to discuss it because that's not what we're here to talk about, is that he was protesting the fact, saying, it's a film about the white man helping the coloured man again.
And I knew about this watching, and like you say, it's probably not our place to discuss this too deeply, but I did have that in mind when I was watching. I thought, okay, I can see where these people are coming from, but again, this isn't me like giving my world opinion on this. I just think, having said that, looking at the two characters from a more simplified point of view just within the film, I do think there's an even exchange of ideas there. Like Vigo gets as much from Dr. Shirley as the other way around, and I think the focus is, again, based on a true story. I don't know how much of this is accurate to the real life story. I'm not sure, but the focus is on these two people from completely different walks of life who formed a lifelong friendship, and that's the point of the story. I don't think there was, it's difficult, but I think that's the focus. Is it's an even exchange, and that's the beautiful thing about it.
I'll offer a different opinion because I don't think, in this particular circumstance, that the friendship is central to the story. Yes, but what the story is also touching on more deeply is an identity crisis that Donald Shirley is having.
Sure.
And the best way to bring that out, it is, in 1960s Southern America. So I do think that Spike Lee might be wrong with what he's saying, because what Peter Farrelly is trying to do is bring out the absolute inner conflict that Donald Shirley is having, and segregated USA is the best way to do that for a black man of Donald Shirley's stature.
Yeah, sure.
He's a person who's caught between two cultures, three cultures actually.
Yes, actually, yeah.
Because he's supposed to be a performer for the more progressive northern states. He's supposed to be a black man in the southern states, and he's supposed to be a gay man as well. It's super difficult for him. I don't think Spike Lee should really be criticizing, how this film is portraying, the plight of the African American man in the 1960s. I think this does it really, really well. It really sets up some really devastating conflict, tragedy.
I was genuinely shocked at some of the things that he experienced, because I'm thinking, this guy is your guest, and yet you're forcing him to go to an outside toilet just because of the color of his skin. And the fact, the film's called Green Book, which I was like, okay, why is it called that? And it turns out that there was a travel guide for African Americans to travel without call or issue through the southern states. Like, these are the hotels that aren't going to give you grief about the color of your skin. I think, my God.
I learned a lot from this film.
I know.
I learned a lot.
Yeah.
I really wanted to, because I had no idea that was the case. I had, no idea that ever existed, that kind of, someone had made that going, you can stay at these different places. I just think that's astounding, like, to think of, that
and
now, obviously, it's, the
fact that
horrible.
And you come back to it, that it's based on a true story.
Yeah.
This was a true friendship that happened. This is the thing that did happen. And you can't take that away from them either. So, take it at its face value, and I think just enjoy the movie, because it is a good movie.
It is genuinely, I was captivated by this. I really felt for both the characters, probably more Dr. Shirley, obviously he's in a lot more trouble than Vigo is just sort of waltzing through with his accent for the most part. But he learns a lot, that's sort of his journey, whereas Dr. Shirley has a lot more going on. I really, really cared for him. I really didn't want anything. Every time he turns up to a new place and the further south he goes, it's like, what's going to happen to him?
Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously when you start realizing he's in states where the police are a little more corrupt and sort of they're basically just operating under their own moral compass as opposed to the law, you suddenly go, he's in danger here.
I think one of my favorite scenes of this film is when the radiator overheats, so they need to pull over, and they're quite into the deep south there, and Tony's working on the engine, and Donald sort of steps out for a moment and leans against the car, and he's very, very nice suit. He's looking quite dapper, and looks across, and he's in the middle of the field, a group of black people just working the fields, and you get that absolute contrast, and you feel how uncomfortable Donald Shirley is.
Yeah, because they're looking across at him being driven by a white man who's doing all the work. And I agree, that was actually quite a powerful moment, really.
I suppose my criticism of this is it won the Best Picture Oscar. And we talked a little earlier in our Nomadland
Yeah.
podcast about whether that was the best picture. I don't think Green Book was the best picture that year.
Well, what was it up against?
It was up against Black Klansman,
I haven't seen Black Panther.
It's a good film.
I've heard it's very good.
Black Panther, Bohemian Rhapsody, The Favourite, Roma, and A Star is Born, and Vice.
Okay. That's actually an interesting pool of movies.
It is.
None of those stand out to me.
I haven't
Vice does for me, but
I need to see that.
I haven't seen Vice yet.
I think Green Book is a great movie, but I don't think it's a best movie. I think what it does is it gets a lot of things right, but I don't think it pushes the boundaries of what film is supposed to be.
Okay. Okay.
I think
What
it is a really good example of a road movie.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
got really great performances, but I don't think it does anything to push the boundaries of what cinema can do and the
that's-
stories that can be told.
That's fair. I'm glad you brought up Nomadland because obviously we spoke about that last week, and we did have a very different kind of difference of opinion on that movie. But I would suggest that I would suggest that they're both road trip movies to a certain extent. But I think this film. Last week with Nomadland, I spoke how I felt like they needed more breaks to break it up, the broodiness of it. And I think that this film, being a drama/comedy, for me, just personally, is a much better mix, is a much better way of doing it. Because I just find that there are moments in Green Book that are horrendous, like sort of examinations of what happened in the 1960s. You go, that's horrible. But then it does break. It gives you a little break, so you go, okay, I can breathe out a little bit. And then you go on. And I find that that's a much more effective way of structuring a movie like that. Whereas Nomadland, for me, like I said last week, was a bit too relentless. It didn't really let you come up for air. So I prefer Green Book style of telling this kind of story, I think.
I don't think it's the best film of that year, though.
No, I
definitely
don't know.
don't
I
think
haven't seen probably any of the other
Yeah.
movies on that list, so I probably can't comment. I haven't even seen Black Panther.
I just think this is a film that's got a template that's been done to death. It's been done really well. It's been done really well in other circumstances as well. But I feel like if you're trying to tell a story about a black man who's going through an identity crisis, a great example of that is Moonlight. And I think the way that Moonlight was shot, well, that's a really innovative way of telling a story. It's it's three different time periods of a young man's life, and you're seeing different circumstances that he's going through. Green Book is a fantastic film, but I just don't think that it really warranted the Best Picture award.
That's fair enough.
For the most part, we all enjoyed it. So I think, what are we going to give this out of 5? 5
Oh, it's got to be KFC buckets, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
green gems or
Jade.
Jade?
Was that Jade? I think it was Jade, yeah.
It's good.
I enjoyed those. Sorry, just before we do, I enjoyed those moments between those characters.
Yeah.
That kind of not a duel, but a kind things that just paid off later on in the movie where
Yeah.
they were both learning stuff from each other. I love that.
Because we're on the island, badly written letters.
But
I still think KFC, but I don't want to give a plug to KFC, obviously. But this,
let's go chicken buckets. Chicken buckets. All right, I'll go first. I'm going to give this. I enjoyed the film. Like I sat down with my wife, and she was like, "Yeah, all right, let's watch it," and then hung around. She was like, "Might have some other things to do." She's like, "Actually, this is a really good movie. It's 2 hours long, but I'm going to sit down and it's engaging. It's an engaging film that I enjoyed. It's a good road trip film. There are two characters. They come together. They sort out their differences, and it's all for the better." Perhaps it wasn't as challenging as I thought it could be. It could have gone a bit harder with some of that, but I'm just going to give it a solid 4. 4 out of 5.
I think that's fair enough. I would agree with a lot of that. I found it. I think it is an easy watch, not to simplify it too much. It does touch on a lot of heavy themes here and there, but no, it's a good watch. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I love the music. The representation of the music of the time, and obviously he's a pianist. Obviously, Dr. Shirley is. Did he do his own piano playing in this movie?
No, he didn't.
He didn't.
You didn't notice a terrible CGI head?
No, I didn't. No.
Okay, watch it back again. It's got a terrible CGI head.
Right, okay. Yeah, I love that. I love the music, and I just love seeing these two people from completely different walks of life come together. And the fact that it's a true story, I thought was great. So I'm going to give it... was there anything I didn't like? I don't think there is. I really enjoyed it. I'm going to give it 4.5 because it's not Skyfall.
I'm going to... for safety, I'm going to give it a 4. I feel like I could give it a 3.5, but I'm going to give it a 4. I felt like they addressed Tony's sort of Inner Prejudice a little bit flippantly. Like, it's pretty much solved by the first third of the film.
Yeah.
You know, I really, really enjoyed a lot of aspects of this film. It's fantastically put together. It's got a great soundtrack. I think Mahershala is just wonderful. Viggo is even better because he always goes 110% into a role.
Yeah.
Always. I thought the ending is very sweet. Without giving anything away, it's just a nice little ending. And I think they do handle the themes around that time, around African Americans as well. Even Italian Americans as well. They explore them to the nth degree.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a 4 for me.
I think I saw that on Netflix.
Yeah, it's on Netflix if you want to watch it, and it's also on. I had it on Blu-ray as well.
No, don't be confused, Matthew. That's
Sorry, I had a moment there. I just phased out of existence. Sorry, everyone. That was a senior moment for me there.
music kicking in. Oh, that was Green Book with a 12.5 out of 15.
Well deserved.
Yes, I would say so.
Very solid. Hey, look, we've been the Trailer Island podcast. You can catch us every Wednesday from wherever you get your podcasts. There's Spotify, Google, Apple, all manner of things. Send us a request. This was a request, and that's why we're doing it. And yeah, that's it.
No, definitely see this film, I would suggest. It was great.
I've been Alex. I've been joined by
Stephen Lip.
Matthew.
and you can catch us on the next episode of the Trailer Island podcast. Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye. Good night.
Ooh, baseline.
Ooh. Oh, we're just jamming now. How appropriate, though. I mean, it's music.
Yeah, it's music.
It works.
We're still going.
We are.
All right, goodbye, everyone.
Good night, everybody. Bye.
This is a Narrative Network podcast.